Okay, good morning again. So in this session, I'm going to show you an overview of how AI and cloud are already part of our lives, from daily life. We're going to cover different types of AI, which is could be something that you know or you don't know. Then we're going to explain the two most common use cases of AI, which is machine learning and NLP. Both of which we have a full session on for both services where we're going to cover what we have done already for the market. So cloud into a few different sectors. The first one is machine learning. Machine learning is based on the sheer loads amount of data, and it's a different way of how we analyze them. So basically, it's not about usually, traditionally, when we write software, we write like decision-based software. If sales is bigger than X value, then we take this decision. If it is less than that value, we take another decision, that kind of thing. But with machine learning, it's really based on pattern recognition as such. So even if you don't know what decision to take, you can actually, what we call, train the AI, train the pattern so that the software itself comes up with new solutions at a bigger scale, at a faster scale. So this was not traditionally accessible on a day-to-day life. What has made it accessible is really the increase in the computing power, the different public clouds that are here. So today it's quite affordable to build solutions on that. The second one is natural language processing. So be it converting text to speech or speech to text, or even identifying feelings and objects in a text that is particularly written in that form possible. What we are not going to see still expert systems and computer vision, planning, robotics. That's not the scope of what we're going to talk today, because these are things that we don't do. Okay. So machine learning is the main area, like I just said. It's kind of learned by example. Of course, when we use machine learning, it goes into this process. There's an input. Let's say you have to identify, for example, which areas in Mauritius have the most accidents. Okay, that's fairly simple. You have different points in time, and you just plot on the map and use the traditional statistics to come up with the figures. Okay, this is the area where it's concentrated. Where it gets complicated is how are you going to forecast which area is the most prone and how it's evolving over the coming years. So this kind of screen, you have loads of data that's coming. Let's say you input all the 300 accidents that are happening, you put the data for 50 years, and you try to build it on an Excel, or your thing is going to be complicated. Whereas when you put the thing here in machine learning, the code, the graph feature extraction, classification, that's going to really make it in a different way. So it's easier to understand with examples, which is why I'm going to switch to. So the first example is actually the Facebook. So I think 2/3 of Mauritians, more than 800,000 Mauritians have Facebook accounts in Mauritius. So what you see on your news feed, how does Facebook decide on that? You might have 100 friends, you might have 5,000 friends. So how does it identify which feed, which post, which of the friends, which of the relatives appears on screen? So Facebook actually tracks all your behavior. So how you click, who you click the more often, what kind of text you read, what kind of photos you like, what kind of videos you watch. So based on everything you do on Facebook, they come up with an algorithm, again, because we are talking of gigabytes of data. And when you see that they have 1 billion users, that becomes really a lot. So they use machine learning and AI to decide to come up with the best suggestion of what is on your wall. The second thing that they do is, you know that if you tap If you upload a photo on Facebook, it is possible for Facebook to automatically find who is in the photo. That's the visual part of AI. Again, the base remains this pattern recognition thing. If you were to write the software to recognize a face, which we tried to do, which was how it was done, many years ago, it was not going to be as accurate than if you use AI. The reason is that if you want to do something to write on AI, if you want to identify a face, the way it's going to be is that you're going to feed in the software, 1,000 faces, photos with 1,000 faces, or 1,000,000 faces. The higher you have, the more accurate it's going to be. Then the software is actually going to take all these examples and is going to kind of automatically, based on example, identify, okay, so we have 1,000 different ways that a person's hair can be. We have 2,000 different ways that a person's eyes, nose, and different features can be. So this is how this is one of the powers of AI. This is how you can apply it in a lot of different fields, because it's kind of this based on examples, and where you don't have to work out that much of what's the algorithm, what's the mathematical formula to do this, etc. It's really saving that. And on Instagram, Instagram can also detect what feeling you have in the photos you upload. Let's say you upload a photo where you're angry, so Instagram is going to know that this is an angry photo. And based on that, they can take more actions on what to show you and what they like. There's even a feature where they can suggest the emoji, expression emoji based on the photo you upload. Now, another thing is Google Maps. Of course, when you use maps, there are already algorithms that's been written, tens of years ago to find the shortest route. There are several shortest route algorithms that can programmatically define the roads, etc. The Google Maps goes one way further. They actually use AI and a lot of other combinations like traffic and weather and all of that. They combine all of that, and then they show you the shortest route that you can take. Then, of course, there's Gmail. And most of you must have a Google account, a Gmail account. Did you notice how most of your emails or part of your email get automatically sent into a folder without you even creating a rule, like, okay, this is a promotional or this is a work item. You'll see that many of these emails, they automatically end up in the promotions folder or in the social folder. So it's based on this machine learning, on this pattern recognition. So they have seen, they have learned over time. A lot of users were actually, deleting such emails or moving such emails or tagging such emails as promotions. So based on all these learnings, they're quite accurate in now. If you go and see the different folders that Google automatically creates for you, you'll see that they are very accurate. It's quite rare that a valid email ends up in a promotional section or in the spam section. Although the spam section is quite often. Quite a lot of time you find valid emails in spam, but the promotional section, ads and social are quite accurate so far. Of course, those other one which you don't see is your antivirus and anti-malware. If you have Microsoft 365, so it uses machine learning not just to detect a threat, but to also proactively protect you from it. So we will have a session on Microsoft 365 later. Now, in organizations, not in your daily life, so ML is also used for fraud detection in banks, insurance, can also be used there. In medical research, like genetics or finding viruses, testing or forecasting, all of that stuff. There's also one area where AI is used. And this is one area where supercomputers are still used for AI. There's a sheer amount of possibilities that exist there. Of course, crime forecasting, which I've been talking for many years now, that is It's possible to forecast crime using machine learning if you have all the data, sufficient data. And universities, they use plug detection tools. They basically work on this because if they didn't work in this machine learning way, they would be really slow. Kind of overlaps with ML, deep learning, computer science part is the natural language processing. This is about how the computer can understand human language, and vice versa. How we can get it from you. So translations, there are summarization tools. For example, the one of the most, maybe the most powerful tool for NLP in the world is what we call GPT. It's GPT-2, GPT-3. So it's so mature that last year someone made a chatbot out of the conversations that he had with his late wife. So they had all their conversations on social media. So what he took is, he took all those conversations that he had with his wife, because his wife had just died, and he was feeling lonely, and he put all that into a chatbot. So you can Google that, it's called Samantha. So that chatbot became so natural, so you can interact with the chatbot, like you can have conversations, and just like I said, the person did not write lines of codes, how I should behave. So if I say hello to the bot, it should tell me, hi, good morning, sweetheart, things like that, because why? They just took all these conversations that they had with the person and created the chatbot. Now and then he licensed that. He offered a service where people could pay to get, kind of a virtual person to have a conversation with. Now this became so popular and so mature, so perfect, that the creators of GPT, they actually saw that it was not meeting their guidelines, because it could have conversation on even sensitive topics like romance and even sex. So they shut it down. And they went so far that they now restrict access to the GPT-3 version now. So now you have access to the old version. Because this perfect in terms of a chatbot that was really human-like, that the creators saw that could be easily be used to misrepresent someone, or to have a fake chatbot talking about. And this is not movies, it's actually happened. If you Google Samantha chatbot or Samantha GPT, you'll be able to find out, and it's went offline, I think in June or July this year. So the technology is already here. It's the data, it's how you train the bot is here. So what broad features is about, when you're talking about NLP, is to extract the features in the text or the voice. So it can be a voice, or it can be something you write. You can write a paragraph, and then software will be able to extract concepts. Let's say I say that, okay, I'm having a conference today. So using NLP, you can identify I is a person, conference is an object, and the verb is have. So it's just one simple example, which is something we have used in the next presentation that we're going to do for our services. And sentiment analysis. So that can be useful in recruitment, it can be useful in crime forecasting, in violence forecasting, all that you can use that on health. The flexibilities are a lot. Or it can simply be used for question answering. Because the point is, with machine learning and NLP, let's say someone replies to you on a document, you are writing to a bot. You don't need to be 100% exact in terms of spelling, in terms of the word, in terms of the sentences. It does a probabilistic matching. So if it's able to match a certain percentage of the text in what it has in its data set, it's going to show you the results. Of course, when we are doing coding, we can set the threshold what's going to be. Now, a good project that's coming up, not by us, by the government, is there's a chatbot that's coming up soon, where we'll be able to interact with different government services. So examples, you already have an idea. There's a chatbot. There's the text-to-speech. What you see, a lot of time when you watch YouTube videos, maybe you must have seen that, okay, this video seems to be coming, from India or from Eastern Europe, but how are they speaking this English? Or the English that they're speaking is like, you say, oh, maybe I've heard this voice before. So a lot of these YouTube tutorials have started to use, these robotic voices. Now, if you hear, we also use that in some of our adverts. I'm going to show you the voice that can actually be generated using AI these days, and you will see that it's a real person that's talking with the accent, with the intonation, etc. And of course, there's speech to text. There's a reverse, which is already here in Windows. If you try to talk to your start menu, you'll find that it recognizes actually your voice. And you find your phone, you see that it's going to type. And it's way more accurate than it was 20 years ago when they first introduced this feature of, voice to text. Because when Microsoft first introduced that, they were not the pioneer, but when they introduced it in Microsoft Office, I think 2003 or something like that, it was just okay, and it was not fast enough, for you to replace actually typing on text. I could type faster than the text. But the new one, when you see, this one uses AI. You can talk normally, and it's going to recognize your accent. Just don't select the British accent or Indian accent. Use the American accent because that's closer to what we Mauritians speak about. I've tested it on Microsoft, and I try to see, let me try the Indian UK, Indian English version, and when I was writing what, it was typing why, and just the way. So it's as far as this that the maturity has come these days. So what we do at nVisionIT, how we have used this AI, it's the field, many of our competitors, or there have many summits where they talk about AI, the possibilities of AI, possibilities of cloud, but what have they given you, tangibly? Who has come up with a proper product for this? What we have done as funded by the Mauritius Solutions Council, we've developed more services. It's going to be launched, it's going to be ready in March next year. So it uses NLP to actually generate a mobile app and a case management. It's going to work like, let's say you have a specific process to apply for leaves or to generate a certificate. You have, people should, you want to write, if I ask you to describe to me what the process is, I want you to just write it down or just voice it out to me. You're going to tell me, okay, people who want a fire clearance certificate, they need to apply online and they need to submit the plan, the site plan, the permits that we have from the municipality. And then it's going to go on a level of approval, they're going to do a site visit. And if everything is okay, there's no complaints and there's no lackings, a certificate is going to be issued against payment. Now, what I just said, what we have done is you would just need to write this in plain text and feed it into the system, and it's going to generate the forms where the person can actually fill in based on the process. So you say the person needs to submit the site plan, it's going to create an input box with an upload button, and it's going to submit. So it's also going to create different workflows based on that. So application is going to detect there's a processing and there's a final certificate. And the way it's actually going to be done, we're going to explain to you in the next session. Then there's Microsoft 365 Defender. So did you know that if you take the Microsoft 65 edition, not the Office 365, if you take it from us on E3, E5 version, you actually have not just antivirus. You have something more, like let's say you want to restrict your people from sending, from getting malware from if they're going on Facebook or they are going on Project Malware tools online. So Microsoft 365 increase this cloud application protection where you can actually monitor what's going where on your network, what's being stored by emails to protect your identity. Also, it's more than just Office, Word, and PowerPoint, Excel. And then the last thing that we might be able to show you is it's Chatbot. But it's really easy to create this chatbot. It's like just a few clicks, and you can create the decisions, or if you already have a list of questions, frequently asked questions that you usually put on your website, it's just a few clicks, you load it, and you have a chatbot that you can get started, and you publish it on your website, mobile app,